This is Dr. John Tolson, and you're listening to the Disciple Making Podcast. Red Glasses Talks. We're back today, and as you can tell, we have a special guest. This happens to be my wife, Punky Tolson, and so we're going to talk a little bit about disciple making as we've been looking at that in Matthew chapter 28. But Punky, I just wanted to ask you, at some point in your life, obviously, you've made a commitment to Christ.
I did.
And just give me a little snapshot of that.
Well, officially, I made a commitment to Christ in high school through Young Life. It was in Young Life. I believed, but I made that commitment officially when I was in Young Life. But then after I made that commitment, I really strayed away from the Lord. And so I recommitted my life in my mid-30s, and then I knew what I was doing, and at that point, it was very, very different.
So here's my question. You gave your life to Christ, and maybe in high school, college, what was it?
High school.
Oh, high school. All right, then the question is, what do you think, as you reflect back on that, would have been that thing which would have made a gigantic difference that would have kept you from straying?
Right, and that's huge, and that's a big part of why I do what I do now, because nobody ever came and put their arm around me and walked with me and said, now this is how this works, and this is how life with Jesus works. So basically, I professed my faith, and I was saved, and I was sealed, and my name was written in the Lamb's Book of Life and all of that, but I was a spiritual baby sitting there with my thumb in my mouth going, what do I do now? And so I could not justify in my own mind or reconcile in my own mind, like, how come I still keep doing this wrong when Jesus is in my heart? So it was a slow growth process.
Well, that's a key word there, I think, growth. So any thoughts come to your mind in terms of like an analogy of like physical birth and development, and what happens when we don't see that, and then how is that comparable then to growth in a person's life in terms of their faith?
Right. Well, there are just countless spiritual comparisons to what we go through physically and as humans. And so when we are born, we are infants, and somebody has to nurture us. Somebody has to take care of us. Somebody has to feed us and diaper us and change us and help us grow up and figure out how to feed ourselves and tie our shoes. And when you come to Christ, you're born again, you are a spiritual infant. And so where is the spiritual mom or dad that then nurtures you, tells you how to pick up a little spiritual fork and knife and cut into the Word of God and understand it for yourself? So I think that, I, for a long time, was in a spiritual infancy, maybe going into toddlerhood as I got things here and there. I did have people that loved me and got me to church, but nobody intentionally saying, I'm adopting you and I'm raising you up to be solid in your faith and know how to walk as a Christian woman, know how to live life on this planet with Jesus.
Very interesting. In Matthew 28, a verse we've been reading over and over again, Jesus said, the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. And then in verse 19, he said, go and make disciples of all nations. And as you know, if you've been listening to this series, I like to translate this, go and make disciples who make disciples who make disciples. So in summary, what would your challenge be to people watching Red Glasses today in terms of growing and discipling, and then also getting ready to do that with somebody else, that which is done with them?
I would say if you need to grow in your faith, and we all need to grow in our faith, where there's always someplace else to grow toward. But if you need to grow, pray and seek out someone to help you grow, to disciple you, to come alongside, somebody you'd pick as a spiritual mother or a spiritual father. If you have been in Bible study forever, or even if you've been in Bible study just a little while, or church, and you have a hunger and a thirst for it, or you've been learning something, well, for crying out loud, pray and ask the Lord to send you someone to disciple, someone that you can help grow up in the faith. And you may not know a ton, you may not know everything, and you don't have to go to seminary, but what you do have, combined with your life experiences, God's truth, you can invest in someone else. And it will be the most enriching, just fulfilling experience of your life. But I think the big thing is the Lord commanded it because he needs fully functioning, thriving, and flourishing followers of Jesus Christ, and not babies who are still trying to get it right.
So here's the question. I'm sorry to cut you off, but Red Glasses has a time limit.
Oh, well, let's go.
You're doing great.
You wrap it up.
So here's the question. Have you been discipled, and are you discipling someone else?
Mm-hmm.
You think about that. Thanks for listening to the Disciple Making Podcast. Check out our website at thetolsongroup.com and sign up for my weekly encouraging videos called Red Glasses Talks to come to your email every Monday morning. You can also find me at Dr. John Tolson on social media. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave me a review and share with a friend.